24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
Welcome to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am Rhulani Baloyi. I'm your host, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I trust that you're going to have a great time in our session, even as we celebrate Women's Month, because we are in the month of August, where we look back and say the women of the year 1956, the 20,000 plus women who marched to the union buildings to say enough is enough for us as women. We want to rise above our situation and things have to change. And as a nation, the month of August has been set aside to celebrate Women's Month. And as Prudent Woman, we look back and say, what a great thing the women of 1956 did, a courageous act indeed. And even today, it still says to us as women, we ought to be courageous and rise up and make a decision and take action and say, enough, it's enough. And of course, today, as we start this month, I have with me a wonderful young woman, Nthabiseng. She is here to tell us about her testimony. She is a woman who the enemy thought he had put her down, but she said, I will rise above what the enemy thought will finish me. I will never be described as a victim forever, but I will be described as a victor. And today, as you listen to her story, you'll agree with me at the end that she is indeed a victor. She has overcome, just like the women of 1956 who said, we cannot be held back, but we are going to be victorious. We are going to change the situation of our lives. Because as women in South Africa and throughout the globe, women go through a whole lot of stuff. But the resilience that is in a woman, how God has created a woman, the resilience makes them to rise above. You know, when you listen to the things that women go through, in most cases, you will think the women will be the least identified group within a family. But to see a woman in a family, you see she's the center of everything. When you see a woman, they say, you give a woman a house, she gives you a family. She gives you a family because a woman is resilient. She goes through stuff and rise above them. And that's what Nthabiseng is going to be taking us through a testimony today, so that we can be able to see it. And I know most of us will be touched by a testimony, but I know most of us, or all of us, were going to be transformed by a testimony. Even if you're not going through the situation that she has gone through, but there may be something that her testimony will encourage you to say, I cannot stay here. Just like the woman with the issue of blood who said, I will defy what society is saying, but I will rise above so that I can receive my healing. So this session that we bring to you as we celebrate Women's Month, it is for such a decision to say, I cannot stay here. I will rise above what the enemy has prescribed as my portion in life. And of course, all of you who are joining us on Facebook and on YouTube, please be part of the conversation. Drop down your comments, your questions to Nthabiseng. It's either we'll answer them as we go on with the show. If we're not able to get to your questions, surely we'll answer them as we continue interacting with our page. And if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel of Bold Moves Radio, please go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you don't lose any of the programs that we bring as Bold Moves Radio. And all of you who are listening to us via the radio, please send your comments, your questions to 081 358 8745. We do not want to leave you out. This is a conversation. And as Prudent Woman, we say we spark conversations so that prudent women can go out and seek for more information to be knowledgeable, so that when that time comes, they are able to respond appropriately because they have the information and they are empowered before. The knowledge is power. And the word of God says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Says Nthabiseng, welcome to Bold Moves Radio. We are excited to have you in the show, but above all, we are encouraged and humbled by your willingness as an activist to stand up and speak about your testimony. It's not everyone who is able to rise up and say, I want to be an activist and I want to talk about my story so that I can heal other people. We are humbled by your decision to do such a thing, and we say thank you for coming through. But for the benefit of our audience, please just tell us, who is Nthabiseng, because they just hear me saying Nthabiseng, but most of them, maybe they don't know you. But I would like to believe maybe some of your family members and friends are watching us this afternoon.
Firstly, let me greet the listeners, those who are watching and those who are listening. My name is Nthabiseng Mokgatwe. I'm a 38-year-old. I was born and bred in Randfontein at Leratong Hospital at the 8th of February 1985. So I grew up at Moshakengi. I attended my primary school in Malerato Primary, and then I proceeded to attend my high school at Tutulehabo, where I completed my matric in 2002. And after my matric, I took a gap year, and then from 2004, I came to Polokwane to stay with my sister. And fortunately, I fell in love with Polokwane and
Yes.
I became a resident. So I've been in Polokwane ever since.
I love it when you talk and say you came to Polokwane and you felt that Polokwane is the place to be. You want to be here. So all those who are residing in Polokwane, please take note. It means we are good citizens of this city. Because Nthabiseng fell in love with us and she moved away from the city of gold. Nthabiseng, I deliberately asked you to introduce yourself because I wanted the audience to understand who is Nthabiseng, because as you're going to be narrating your story, some of the people, it's easier to believe someone whom you feel they come from a background similar to yours. And I wanted people to understand that you are, as much as myself, you are a Black child who grew up in a Black neighborhood, who was exposed to schooling and a whole lot of other things, so that we can be able to identify with you. Nthabiseng, I had an opportunity to hear your story. And, I must declare, hearing your story was not simple, but hearing your story was liberating. Because, as I said, we all go through different difficulties in life. But what stands out is that you must be able to rise above the hardships that you're going through. So I would like you, Nthabiseng, yes, in a little bit of detail, if you can narrate your story. I wish someone sitting there, you can listen to a story and be able to see yourself and say, I can rise above what I'm going through, because maybe it's not above what she has gone through. So, Nthabiseng, if you can tell us your story.
Okay. Okay. I was gang raped at the age of 21. It was in June, the 3rd of June 2006. I went back home to visit my mom. As I said before, that I had relocated to Polokwane. So 2006, I went back home to visit my mom who was sick. And then upon my arrival there, my friends came to me and they were in the process of establishing a community radio station. So they asked me to be part of that. So I agreed to help them, though I was not going to be at Motlakeng for a long time. And during that period, before the ICASA can issue a license, they requested us to raise funds so that they can see our ability to run a community radio station. So we did some projects there at the location. So on the 3rd of June, we were doing your Mr. and Mrs. High Schools. So because I'm not how should I put it? a night rider, you know. I'm not a 6 to 6 person. So I did my bit for the course, and because I was tired, and then I said to my colleagues, you know what, I'm not gonna stay throughout the night, so I'm just gonna go home. We were having the session at the recreational center, which is not far from my home. It's just your 30-35 minutes walk. So I decided to go home. So upon me going home, I passed, there's an old hostel and the old filling station. So when I was going home, a group of 5 guys, they came from behind me, and then one of them put something that felt like a gun actually on my spine. So I literally froze. I did not scream, I did not do anything, and they just said to me, I must keep quiet, because now I was going home. They said we are going to turn back. So we went to the opposite direction, and they took me at the back of the clinic. When we got there, our clinic has got, you know, the big trees there. So, and then it was dark because obviously it was late at night. And then when we got there, I just stood there and did not do anything. And they said to me, you know what we want. And I did not even say anything, you know. I wanted to say something, but because I think they caught me off guard, I just kept quiet. And then I just stood there. I did not move. I did not say anything. So the first guy, the other guy pushed me, and then I felt backwards. So now remember, it was June, so I was wearing warm. And then upon me falling with my back, the guy actually pulled off my trouser and my underwear. And the first guy who raped me, it was painful. I was still a virgin at the age of 21 when I was raped. So when the first guy penetrated me, it was painful. I was crying, but I was not crying out loud. I could just feel the tears coming out. And then the first one, when he was done, the second one raped me. And then the third one was actually reluctant to rape me. So the first one said to the third guy, let me show you how it's done. And then the first guy just came again, he raped me. So when he was busy raping me, I actually blacked out, you know, I lost consciousness. And then after that, I'm not sure if the fourth and the fifth guy, they did rape me or not. And then when I regained consciousness, the guys were nowhere to be found. So I just looked at myself and I found out that I was naked. So I pulled, I was looking for my clothes, so I pulled my underwear up. And then I also put my pants up, and then I dressed myself, and then I started walking home. So, and you know, the funny thing is, when these things, especially when you are watching a movie, when such things happen, you will be screaming like, do this and do that. And but sometimes when these things happen to you, you just die, you become numb. So yeah, that's what happened to me. So when I was going home, um I don't know why, but I did it. I passed the police station because my house and the other house, the police station is in between. So I passed the police station. I did not even go into the police station, and I went home and I knocked. My mom took time to wake up because she was not okay. So when she woke up, she asked me, where are your keys? And then I said, I'm not sure, ma. So she could not even see that I was not okay. So my mom said, please don't forget to lock the door. So she went back to her room, and I locked. And then the mistake that I did, I actually went to the bathroom. I ran a bath, and I just wanted to clean myself of the dirt that I was feeling at the particular time. And it was so painful, it was so bad. And I was crying, but still, even at home, I was
You
not
can.
crying out loud.
Mm.
But yeah, I remember I even danced myself, just deep in the bath.
Yeah.
I was just sleeping in the water, and yeah, then I could even hear my mom say, Nthabiseng, oh, you've been in the bathroom for a long time. So I got out, and then I went to the room, and then I went to sleep. So I don't even, I think I was in denial of what
What has happened
happened,
to you?
or I just did not want to acknowledge that that thing has happened to me. So I
But
slept throughout.
says Nthabiseng, with what you are saying, I think it's mostly what victims go through.
Yes.
Yeah, being in denial or wanting it, thinking that when I keep quiet, it will go away. But again, as Prudent Woman, we keep on saying in this show that let us care about the people around us. When I see you, I cannot just see you for having looked at you, but I must care too. Be observant and say what has gone around. But you say mommy was not well, and I would like to believe it's because she was not well. She could not pay attention to you. And should it have been possible or maybe engage? Um, we had a guest here on Prudent Woman who talked to us about drug use, for instance, to say our children, we need to care about them, that we observe them when they come back, because then that's the time. I would like to believe that time was very crucial. Uh, and for you to have gone through the police station, I would like to believe back in your mind, you knew that you are supposed to go in, but that courage of rising up and saying you can do it, but because of the pain you have suffered, you wanted it to be behind you. But I just want to ask you this question. You said you were a virgin by that time. It's simple for people who have gone, for victims, let me say, to blame everything around them. And I would like to believe at that time, you are likely to have said, I'm a virgin, I've kept myself, which means I've kept what God has said one should do. Wait until that time when they get married. And I'm wondering, was there no thought to say, why did he leave me to go through such a thing? Because one can be very angry to get to such a level, more especially as a born again child of God. Yeah.
Okay, to answer your question, honestly, after the whole ordeal, I was extremely angry at God. Though I was not at a point of having that deeper relationship with God, but I asked God, I grew up being an obedient child. I was not gallivanting, I was not drinking, I was not the type of a lady who would go out at night doing nasty things. And then out of the blue, now you let this thing to happen
Happen.
to me. Why? What did I do to deserve such treatment? Yeah, I became very angry at God, and it was not even funny. I came to a point where I thought God did not exist. Yes, I blamed God. I was just not okay with everything. Yes, I did.
I'm asking that question because I wish for our audience to finally realize, when we go to the end of your story, to realize that indeed you are a victim. Because for someone to have gone through what you are saying, believed in God, lived for God, and things like that happened to you, and you found yourself in a state where you did not believe that God exists, and finally you rose above it. Because I would like to believe when the enemy does these type of things in our lives, most of the time, because he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He's looking for that. He wanted your soul more than your body. So you are a victor, even spiritually, because you were able to rise above that. I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, Sis Nthabiseng, let us talk on what followed next. What happened to you after you went, you cleaned yourself, you bathed. Unfortunately, we know bathing cannot take it away because it's something that has been done in you. And I wish those who have been perpetrators can see how much damage they cause. It's not just the act, but it goes beyond the person. Let us go on an ad break. We'll be right back with you. Listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I'm Rhulani Baloyi, and thank you for joining us as we continue with our conversation with Nthabiseng. Before we went on an ad break, she narrated to us her ordeal that she went through. Nthabiseng, you indicated to us that you did not seek for help. You passed police stations. You even passed your mom as you went to the bathroom. Maybe just tell us what made you not to want to tell or not want to report at that moment, not how you feel now, but at that moment when it has happened, what was going on in your mind?
Honestly, at that particular moment, I did not want to accept that the rape had taken place. The other part of me was feeling dirty. I just wanted to get, this thing of me. I just wanted to get everything out of my system, out
Mm,
of my body. I think that is one of the reasons that I did not even have the audacity or the guts to get into the police station
mm,
and to report what had happened, or to even tell my mom, even though she was sick, what had transpired before I got home.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, I just wanted to clean myself of everything.
mm, mm.
Yes.
And you know, right now, after you have gone through the different phases post your trauma, you have realized that one needs to run to the police station. One needs someone that they can trust to be the person that they're going to tell what has happened to them in order for them to get justice. And I just want to bring to the attention to our listeners and our viewers to say, go and find out about the Tutuzela centers, because those are the centers where you're supposed to go to even before you can do anything, because they will take you through all the different steps. They will counsel you, but they will make sure that you are able to report and you will get justice, because you'll get personnel that has been trained on how to gather evidence that can be used against such perpetrators. Because when we talk the court of law, we're talking about evidence. It's all about the evidence that we bring before them. And we should not take for granted, prudent women, that there are cases of people who have been uh, alleged to have committed such acts whilst they are not. And we should agree that in our prisons, we have those people who have been wrongfully arrested and wrongfully convicted. And the courts of law are fighting against such. That's why you will have a whole lot of things that you have to do, even when you go to the to Zella centers or when you approach the police station. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of our listeners and our viewers, because it tends to make people to stay away because of such things. But we should understand that there are those who are wrongfully accused of having committed the act. So Nthabiseng, uh, yes, let's continue with your story. Maybe because of lack of time, we don't have the whole day to be able to talk to your story, but we just want to bring forth those testimonies that will encourage another person to rise up. What happened next, especially the phase you went through, and what did you discover as after effects of your ordeal that you went through?
Um, I think even though my mom was sick, I think a day or two after that, she could notice the changes in me, and she could just realize that I'm not the talkative or the bubbling Nthabiseng that they know at home. And she asked me what happened, and I just said, I'm tired, because of the event that we were organizing. It has taken so much from me, but because it happened in June, I think June, July, August, September, October, going to November, and then I started getting sick. I
Mm,
started getting sick to a point where I was even vomiting blood every day. I was not eating accordingly, and then so my mom suggested to my brother, one of my brothers, to take me to the doctor or
mm,
to the clinic. So we went with a family friend to one Indian doctor. And then when we got there, they wanted me to urinate in a container. And because I was having trouble, and now they gave me a 2 liter of water to drink to finish it up so that they can have a urine. So they wanted to test pregnancy. I did not even ask what did they need the urine for,
mm,
but because of I had shut everything out and everybody out, I just let them do what they needed to do. And then, so after they did the test, unfortunately, they found out that I was 5 months pregnant.
mm,
So the doctor, who is an Indian doctor, suggested that because of the mental state that I was in,
mm,
I was not going, and even my my emotional being and my physical being, I was not going to carry the pregnancy through term. So they said the best thing that he can advise is for us to have a termination of pregnancy. Um, I did not agree and I did not disagree. I just let them do what they see fit for me to be okay. So he referred us to the women's clinic because the pregnancy had overlapped 3 months. So we went to the women's clinic after 2 days. And then when we got there, I could not do the procedure because I started getting emotional when I went to the emergency room. And then the doctor, because he was scared that he's going to lose his license, he said I must come back after 2 or 3 days, which I went. So when we got back with to my mom, and then my mom said, "Yo, you know what? Because of what I've been told, so I suggest that it's okay. You need to do this." So I went there with my mom to the women's clinic, and then they did the whole procedure. But before that, when you get there, there are two little pills that they give you. You put under your tongue just to numb the pain.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's what they do. And then so I asked, I did not even speak a lot. So after the doctor was done doing the procedure, I remember the very first words that I uttered to the doctor was, "I hate you." I hated him because he was a man. I was directing my anger at the wrong person. So yeah, after that, I totally hated men to a point where I even hated my own brothers. I would not even sit in the same room with my own siblings. So
You tend to put paint on all the men, and which is very challenging because these are your loved ones, and you find yourself in a situation where you're not able to relate to them. And I would like to believe even the doctor was doing his best and could not understand. But what I want to hear from you, Sesin Nthabiseng, it's at that point, have you spoken to them in terms of what actually happened to you? And were you given a choice, or nothing was given to you in terms of you wanting to keep the baby or you want to abort?
honestly, I think they spoke to me, but because of I had shut everything out, I was not even listening to anything. So I think maybe my mom gave the go ahead for them to proceed with the procedure. So hence they had the right to do the abortion. But with me saying I wanted to keep the baby, I know I even now I am asking myself, would I have wanted to keep the baby? uh, if I look at the baby was going to be the reminder of what happened, or would I be able to love the baby to the best of my ability? That I'm still asking myself. So yeah, they did that without me giving an approval or disapproval.
As Jacinta was saying, as you explain your journey, what I love is, yes, you went through all those, and no one has a right to blame you on how you reacted. But what we are grateful for, it's you having stand up and rise above your situation. Tell us your journey in terms of healing, how you received your healing. I heard when you were talking, you spoke about having seek for psychological help. What was your journey in seeking psychological help?
Okay, then from that, my sister, I had to come back to Bulukwane. So when I came back to Bulukwane, my sister suggested that we need to go for counseling, and I think, I was being a rebellious young lady, not in a very nasty way, but because of I was angry, I was hurt. I was still in pain of what had transpired. So when my sister said I should go for counseling, I just looked at her and I said, okay, whatever. That was the answer I gave her. So she just saw that I needed to go for counseling. So she booked sessions with a family doctor. So yeah, we went for that. I think I attended 3 sessions, and the first session I did not say anything when the psychiatrist was talking. The second one, I think I was just trying to listen to her, and the third one, I think it was when she said to me, I know what you are going through. So the question that came out was, have you ever been gang raped? Then she said no. And then I asked her, have you ever had to terminate a pregnancy that came out of rape? She said no. And then also I just started being confused. I even said to her, you don't know what I'm going through, because you just said that you know what I'm going through. And for me, then it did not make sense for me to go back there for someone who is saying that they know what they. I just felt that she was just playing tactics, just to get it over and done with. So I stopped going for counseling from that. And then my sister actually made an appointment with my pastor. I met him for the very first time that time. It was in March 2008. My pastor's name is Pastor Clement Koma. So we went there, and then when we got there, the pastor was so I don't know how to even put it. He became a father figure. He just sat there, and then he just said, okay, you can tell me what happened. So I had to relate to him what happened. And I remember him telling me, in spite of everything that happened, in spite of everything that you have been through, God has always been God, and God
Yes.
was always there. At first, it did not make sense to me. I was like, but why would God let such thing happen to me? And I grew up. My family, they attend the ZCC church, so that's where I grew up. I got saved the very first time I met my pastor. So the pastor did a salvation prayer. I did not even understand, because I was just letting people do what they wanted to do. And I remember after the prayer, I felt something heavy, being off lifted my shoulder, and I literally cried. I literally cried. And he said, you know what? I can tell that the tears that you are crying are tears of joy, even though you have been through pain, but I can see that you are relieved from whatever that has been weighing you. So I think, spiritual help also, it gets to revive a person. I'm not looking down on the psychologist or the
Yes.
psychiatrist, but so you need something that will touch you deep down inside. So I think that is what I got, and that is what has helped me to be where I am currently.
And it's very important, prudent women, that we should realize that although certain prescriptions can be given, individuals are unique and they've gone through unique circumstances. We may have been gang raped, but not the same way, and not the same people, and they were not acting the same. So it's very important that you identify that people are unique. But what I get from what you are saying in terms of your psychological health was, in the first instance, you were not willing, you were not yet there. So we also need not force people to go through what we believe should be their help, because a person will only receive help once they've accepted. You cannot force down something on a person. But again, to also realize that as we comfort people, we need to be very sensitive. We need not just play around with words, you know. If you do not have a word, I heard someone saying, if you don't know what to say, don't say anything, but just hold the person. As long as they know there is someone next to them, it says a whole lot. I mean, that silence speaks volumes than you saying words irresponsibly so, because instead of comforting, instead of bringing healing, you may find yourself hating the person more, because at that time I like to believe, says Nthabiseng, you like feeling it's only me, you know. It's only now that you are sharing your story, maybe someone is watching and say, I'm not the only one, because at times we sit in a corner and think I'm the only person. Most of the time that's what the enemy does, because he lies to us and say you are the only person in the whole world who's going through this, when he knows that, because he does not know much, he only uses the same strategies to hurt people. So this afternoon, we would like to say thank you to your pastor, you know, for having stood up and show forth that indeed the word of God supersedes everything. You say that spiritual healing that you receive, because as you were narrating your story, you remember I said, I wish they can understand it's not about your physical body, but it's the spirit person that they're dealing with. The enemy is allowing them to go and work against that spirit person. And today we sit here because you have been a victim. You have overcome spiritually, that it needed to start there so that physically you can blossom. Because Nthabiseng is not this body that we're seeing, but Nthabiseng is that spiritual person that your body is holding. And we like to say thank you very much. But since Nthabiseng, let us come to your third discovery after your ordeal. You know, what did you discover? Which added to your weight to say, how can it be? You know, I thought I'm done that evening when I went to the bath, I've washed. And then you thought I'm done at the surgery. When they did the abortion, I'm done. Now it's following you. What was your next?
It was actually the coming year, which happened to be 2007. So I decided to go and test. Not that I was ready for that. I was watching the Oprah Winfrey, so they were talking about the victims, of GBV, and so I just sat with myself, and I decided that I needed to know where my life is heading. So I decided to go and test for HIV. I remember telling my sister that I needed to go and test. And my sister was like, "You are not ready." So I said, "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you." Um, so prior to that, I remember I was asking God that, God, please, this one, can you just hold it for a moment? So we went to Nthabiseng to test, and unfortunately, the HIV results, they came back positive. Phew. So yeah, I actually thought I could take it, but I was actually not strong enough. And then I, yeah, I remember I cried. I cried to a point where they even had to use the back door for me to go out so that other people could not see. So when we left, my sister asked one of the nurses if we can go to.
Are listening to Bold Moves Radio with myself, Rhulani Baloyi. I am your host for Prudent Woman. Today, as we celebrate Women's Month, the first Sunday of August, we have our sister, of course, Nthabiseng, who through her life story, the ordeal she went through, she's encouraging us to never remain victims, but to rise up and be victors. Nthabiseng, you told us before we went on an ad break that you had your third ordeal when you find out that you were HIV positive. Tell us, what will you say was the most important step that you took in order for you to forgive your perpetrators and to be able to be in a journey of overcoming your ordeal?
Okay, the first step that I took, I remember our pastor was preaching about forgiveness. So I felt that I was not in a right space to forgive, but when I got home, I think God was just speaking to me. So even though I don't know the perpetrators, but I decided to forgive them regardless of what happened. So, the first step that I did was to forgive them. And then after that, it was to accept that I had now contracted the virus.
Mm.
So that was for me to be able to pick up the life of my pieces.
Yes, our pastor, Pastor Strike, always says when you do not forgive someone holding a grudge, it's like drinking poison and believe that that person who has violated you will drop down and die. But it only comes back to you. And as you are saying, that it was that decision when you heard the word of God being spoken about forgiveness. That's where we see the power of forgiveness, because it's what has released you, I like to believe. What will you like to say to someone who was violated like yourself, but they haven't found the courage to rise up and speak about the ordeal they went through?
Okay. First of all, with me, I did not know my perpetrators, and I actually stopped my brothers from going after the wrong people because I did not want anyone's blood on my hands.
Mm.
So, what I will tell someone who has been violated out there, if you don't know the person who has done wrong to you, please don't go out pointing fingers to the wrong people, because our justice system also needs to help us to fight for ourselves.
Mm.
And then I will also advise them to go to the nearest clinic and to report the matter as soon as possible. Even if you don't know them, but the DNA also plays a good role for them to be apprehended. So that is what I can tell them.
Mm, mm. And yourself being an activist, Nthabiseng, of HIV, and what would you like to say to someone? We have observed that people living with HIV tend to live just like everyone else, and research has proven that they tend to live much more better quality of life than those who believe they do not have HIV. Because when you know you've got HIV, you are likely to be cautious with how you conduct your life. But when you think you are clear, you just live recklessly. What will you like to say to someone who is living with HIV or suspect, but they're so fearful that they cannot even take a step to go and test or speak about it?
Okay, what I can tell the anyone who is living with HIV, first of all, they need to go out there, maybe to their nearest clinic or hospital to get tested. Even if you have the fear, at least get someone that you can confide to them, so that they can go along with you and then get tested. And also, the law also favors you. People should not go around telling other people that you are HIV positive.
Mm,
But if you are in the right state of mind, you can also tell people who you trust that I suspect that might be the case.
mm,
And maybe they can also hold your hand and go with you on this journey. Healing takes time. You don't even have to what how can I put it, you don't have to force it.
mm.
Just take it one step at a time.
Yes.
Also, myself, I'm still healing, and I'm getting there. As much as I'm no longer a victim,
Mm,
but there are times where I would feel down, and I just close myself, and then from there I will ask God, so where to from here?
mm,
I'm not always strong. There are times where I cry, where I need someone to tell me that it's gonna be
okay.
okay. So you are also allowed to feel like that. But I can tell you that no matter what, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So we
Mm,
can beat this thing of living with HIV together.
mm, mm. Of course, there is light at the end of the tunnel, sitting right across you and looking at this vibrant woman that I'm sitting with, and with such a beautiful smile. It says to me, nothing is too hard. everything, as long as submitted before the Lord, you can deal with it. Thank you so much, Sis Nthabiseng, for coming through to Prudent Woman and sharing your story. I would like to believe Prudent Women have learned from your story, and it has encouraged many to be able to rise up and beat the odds. We cannot stay there and be labeled victims as women. But let us rise up, South Africans. Let us rise up, ladies. As you stand up, do it not for yourself, but for the next person. I would like to believe as you did it, it was for yourself, of course, but it has touched many. As an activist, you continue to touch many lives. And we have seen that through support groups, that's where one is able to overcome the things that you come across, because when the enemy finds you in a corner and not knowing that other people around you have gone through a similar situation or much more worse, you are likely to condemn yourself. You are likely even to blame yourself. So we appreciate activists like yourself who uses their own life story and say, I want to touch someone's life. I want to bring life to another person. I would like to believe today we just did it, just that. And thank you to all of you who were watching us and your comments. Of course, we could not go through all of them. We even had to cut short Nthabiseng's testimony because of the time that we do not have. So we have come to the end of the show. Nthabiseng, as we close this session, as you bid farewell to our audience, what will you like to say to the society as South Africans? What is it that we can do to make the burden of victims like yourself much more bearable?
Okay, what I can or what I would like to say to the society, when we stand out and voice out our pain, please stop judging us, because now you are making us to condemn ourselves even more. We need shoulders to cry on, and if you have nothing better to say, just rather keep quiet. And with the help of people who are helping us fighting this pandemic that we are facing of GBV, and also of the HIV being stigmatized. It's such a privilege, and we would like to say we really appreciate the support, and may we keep on fighting, and together we will win this battle of being undermined as people who are living with HIV. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sis Nthabiseng. We cannot thank you enough as Bold Moves Radio for having come through and open up on what has happened to you. May the good Lord continue to heal you. As you said, you are still in a process. And all of us, as we are watching, one way or another, GBV has affected us. It's either I was a victim or someone around me was a victim. So we are all affected. And it's about time as South Africans we rise up and say no to GBV. Let us protect ourselves, but as well, prudent women, let us go out and teach our boy child that a woman is an individual just like themselves. They need to be respected. They cannot take things by force. Let us rise up and raise responsible young men, because all these perpetrators come from a home. And as women, we have been entrusted by God to bring life into this world, and as well to be able to nurture them. It is much more simpler and easier for anyone when they are faced with a challenge. If they do not call God, the next person they call is who? Mama. So that says we have so much influence in changing the perception of our society. We would like to say thank you to all of you who have been watching and listening to us. Of course, we will continue during this month of August, bring you different women who are resilient, women who are making a change, even in society, in the economic space, in the education space. We want to show forth that women can do it, and nothing can put us down as women. I would like to say thank you to our technical team, DJ Messi. Thank you very much, even though we experienced quite a number of challenges in terms of technicality for due to load shedding. But we appreciate what you are doing, your best, DJ Mason. And of course, our executive producer, Pastor Strike, would like to say thank you very much to the whole team of Bold Moves Radio, all of you who have made a contribution. Prudent Woman will not be what it is without your support. And of course, as we end the show, you know, their favorite pastor is coming up at 5:30. That is Pastor Frida Matebula with the Living Word Outreach Program. She will be here. Go and grab a cup of coffee and wait to listen to the word of God as she speaks to us. And thank you very much. As you go on through the week, from Monday up until Friday, we have a devotion from 6:30, and different men and women of God come through to encourage and lead us as we pray. And on Tuesday, of course, we've got the African Experience. On Thursday, we've got the Love SA. Thank you very much. We shall see you next week. Have a blessed and a wonderful week ahead, even as you celebrate yourselves, women, as we show forth our resilience as women of South Africa. Have a blessed evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda